Welcome to the 11 Yards Podcast presented by Legit Football. My name is Anthony Wehner, producer of 30 Minutes of Football, and I'm joined here with Jimmy Ray of at NFL_stats on Twitter, where we talk numbers and stats and all things football. Going into week 14, we're getting so close to the postseason. These upcoming games are all very crucial for multiple teams. Jimmy, how are you doing? Ready to talk some numbers?
Yeah, doing good, man. I can always talk numbers. So I'm excited to see what you're bringing to the table. Excited to talk about some of the numbers heading into week 14 and kind of looking at the past week. On Wednesday, it's people are starting to get antsy. We didn't have any football on Tuesday, no football tonight. So hopefully this helps them out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And what makes me excited is about stats is just that it changes. It's very
Right.
personnel. Like it's not the same every week. So we have new stuff to talk about every week.
Mm-hmm.
So to get into it, I'm going to put up the week leaders of this week 13. We have Jalen Hurts, who passed 29 times or 39 times for 29 completions, 380 yards for 3 touchdowns, took 2 sacks, and earned a 130.3 rating.
Yeah, that's very good.
Is this a guy who could bring the Eagles to the Super Bowl?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he can do. The thing is, he has the rushing ability, but he doesn't. If you took away that completely, he's a solid passer, and he has weapons around him that are playing up to the potential. And Miles Sanders, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, they're all playing phenomenally, and he plays behind a great offensive line too. So that's why the Eagles are the number one team in the NFL right now, and Jalen Hurts has taken a major step. And anybody who has him in fantasy would also agree with that.
So I want to ask you, there's this narrative where like the new Brady Manning, it's Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen. But can we put Jalen Hurts in that list?
Yeah.
Do you think Hurts will be a competitor among the elite quarterbacks? He's still very young, as are all of them, and he's very healthy. He's probably at his prime right now, and he's definitely making it work. I have a chart here from Next Gen Stats.
Real quick, going off of what you said about the QB rivalries, I feel like those are made in the postseason. So until we see that, but at this point, I foresee him playing well, hopefully in the postseason, and if he gets that chance to go up to bat against a top QB. The thing is, looking at the NFC QBs and stuff, some of the top teams like probably him and Dak Prescott, they battle already twice a year. Kirk Cousins. I'm probably missing somebody.
We might be able to fit Jared Goff in there. After the way that he's been playing,
I wouldn't go that far, but it'd be close.
He's looking like he did when he brought the Rams to the Super Bowl. They're really getting it together there. I want to say maybe Goff next year. We'll see. I'm a Lions fan, so I'm a little bit biased. But here we have a chart for Jalen Hurts' performance, the best performance in the NFL by a passer in week 13, 29 for 39, 380, 3 touchdowns. And this is the chart. So these 3 blue lines are touchdowns. And as you can see, they're 30 or more yards were his 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's a lot of air distance for a passer. And then all the little green dots are complete passes, and then the white dots are incomplete. So as you can see, you have 3 here in short range, and then 1, 2, 3 in long range, and then 1. So it's 7 incomplete or 10 incompletions. But he had a lot of completions, 3 touchdowns, which are very far. I mean, we could sit here and analyze this chart right here all day, but the story is Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback, and he's kind of proving that.
Yeah, I mean, he took quite a few shots down the field, 10 plus yards. I see like 10 or so passes, and it's nice to see those 30 plus yard air yards turning into touchdowns. That's really important. That kind of shows he creates great plays for the wide receivers as well, because some touchdowns it's hard to exactly tell the context of some things, because you could throw it. QB could throw it 3 yards in a screen pass or something, and Deebo Samuel is somebody, not singling out the 49ers here. They could throw it 3 yards in the air, and then the wide receiver gets 1,000,000 yards after catch. So it's interesting from that aspect of just kind of looking at these. But I mean, yeah, these are awesome to kind of get a feel for it, especially when you didn't watch every single play.
Right.
And but it's very interesting. You could my mind
To
loves
stay,
this.
yeah, me too. And to stay on Hurts for a second, here is his league the
Oh
whole
wow.
season. So 108.3, 68.1 completion percentage, 2,940 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. It's all green and yellow. So obviously red is worse than average, and there's absolutely no red. So he is either average or better than average in every category at every part of the field. This is a really good performance from a quarterback, and it's continuing through the season. Now we can see how he does in the postseason. So
Yeah, the intermediate passing game is absurd. Going 20+ yards, it seems like he's one of the best in the league, and that's what you're looking for. And then when he's a bulldozer on the ground, it's crazy.
yeah, and what I like about Hurts too is he doesn't rely on his running ability like Mr. Lamar Jackson, where he relies on his running that he can't really pass. But Jalen Hurts can do both. I mean, this is almost reminiscent of Patrick Mahomes when he won his first Super Bowl. So I could definitely see a run for the Super Bowl here if his receivers can stay healthy and the offensive line with can hold the defenders back, so he has enough time to throw.
Yeah, we've seen that kind of play from Lamar before, but the offensive scheme around him and the offensive weapons around him that he lacks, I feel like compared to the Eagles. No, really. I'm not putting any blame on the weapons or anything, but obviously the Eagles have better weapons and a better team overall on the offensive side of the ball.
Definitely,
I think that's without question right now.
True.
So,
and then number 2, we have Mike White, loss against Minnesota, 31 for 57, 369 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, 59.8 rating. I think if it was up to us, I would probably move him down to 5. But
57
we rated
attempts is insane.
We did sort it by yards, so he is second in yards by 2 with Geno Smith at third. With his win against the Rams, 28 for 39, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. This looks a little better because of this right here, because he threw 3 touchdowns, where Mike White threw 2 interceptions. So it's really hard to, by just yards, to see which quarterbacks did better, because I think Mike White didn't do that well. When you have that many attempts, you're bound to get a good amount of yards. But they lost that game, and he got a 59.8 rating.
Yeah, they're missing Breece Hall. I mean, 57 attempts is unfortunate. I mean, they were close against the Vikings, but when you don't have a balanced attack, it's just unfortunate. Everybody misses Breece Hall. I hope he can come back next year.
Yeah, I hope so too. I have on my dynasty league.
Me too. I traded for him. So.
Me too. Traded Nick Chubb. Don't judge me.
Oh no, I traded a bunch of. I had Rashad White in a trade for him too, and a bunch of my team. I kind of it's like one of the tanking teams. I like Devin Singletary, David Njoku, Rashad White for a future running back. So hopefully that works out.
Yeah. And then Geno Smith, we talked a lot about yesterday at the Power Rankings episode. He's still doing very well, and the Rams. Even the defense isn't looking like they did last year, so it was easy for Geno Smith to be able to put up 367 yards. Jared Goff is number 4. That's a new one. We haven't seen Goff in the top 5 in a while. 31 for 41, 340 yards, 40 points. They won 40-14 against Jacksonville. 2 touchdowns, 115.9 rating. He deserves to be up there. I think that Jared Goff is back to himself. I think that this is a narrative that we can continue with, because he was off last year and a lot this season, but now he's got his receivers. Jameson Williams is now on the field. Amon-Ra St. Brown's healthy. DeAndre Swift's been playing. We're really opening up the field with Jamal Williams and everything. So I think Jared Goff's going to see a lot of success in the future, and this is the start of it. What do you think?
Yeah, the offense definitely hasn't been a problem, and I think Jared Goff hasn't been talked about enough this season. I feel like he's putting up great stats. He's showing that he can make the plays that are necessary to win games. And if the defense has some weapons, if they kind of develop on the defensive side of the ball, obviously they had a great game today, but against a better team, you might not put up as many points, and you might need to be better on the defensive side of the ball when your offense can't always put up points. But yeah, I mean, the Lions have been playing very well, and I think your future is bright, especially with those picks that you got going on too.
Yeah, with that Rams pick, because it might be a top 5 pick, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
maybe upgrade the defense. So
Mm-hmm. But
Uh,
quarterback, no quarterback here. That's what you're saying. Jared Goff's the
no,
future.
no,
All
Jared
right,
Goff is gonna stay. He's gonna stick around for a little while longer, and he's kind of
all
proving
right,
himself the starting job. So,
yeah,
I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon.
fair enough.
Number 5 is Justin Herbert. Loss against Las Vegas, 27-20, 28-47, 335 yards and a touchdown. Again, 47 attempts, completed 28 of them. You're going to get a good amount of yards, but he still lost, 88.5 rating. Justin Herbert's just been off his game. We don't have to elaborate too much, because we all see it. We all see that he's not really. He did have that really long pass to Keenan Allen. I think it was like a 50-yarder or something right into
Yeah,
the end zone. That was probably the best play of the game. But Justin Herbert's kind of not been operating like he's supposed to. Like, we had high hopes for him in the offseason. He was an MVP candidate at the beginning of the season. So he's definitely been downgrading.
yeah. If you look at his stats, you're like, oh, those aren't too bad. But as a whole, the offense has underwhelmed this season, especially with uh, some acquisitions in the offseason. But the injury bug has definitely stung them this season, like it seems to always do with this team. Uh, but yeah, Justin Herbert. I mean, with the Chargers are like a mediocre team right now in terms of the record and their winning ability. So it's hard to give them too much credit until they start winning more games. But their defense is not helping.
Yeah, I agree. So on to running
Here
backs,
we go.
we have Josh Jacobs once again, 26 carries, 144 yards for 1 touchdown. In their win, 27-20 versus the Chargers. Longest was 20, and he fumbled once. Josh Jacobs is again proving that he's a RB1 that is, deserves the money that's being paid. He's playing very, very well this season.
Yeah.
What do you think about Jacobs?
Yeah, he's the number one rushing yard leader right now. And that goes to show how much he's been consistent this season. Even when he's on the injury report, being questionable every week, if he's playing, he's putting up yards, and he's leading this team. The Raiders are starting to get wins, so he looks even better. He'll be a free agent this offseason. We've talked about it before. Ooh, this looks fun. This looks like a fire, but with like green and yellow arrows.
Right, yeah. So this is Josh Jacobs carries every 26 of them for 144 yards total and a touchdown. The green is 5+ yards gained and a touchdown. The blue dot right here means touchdown.
Yeah,
So that was a 20+ run for a touchdown
straight up the
there.
middle.
Then the yellow is all 0 to 5 yards gained. And notice how he has no red. He did not get tackled for loss once. Also, He
Nice.
did not lose a fumble. He fumbled it, and then I remember one of the offensive linemen got it back. But right here, you can see a lot of it's down the middle or kind of like wide to the left, but there's not much going on wide to the right. And that makes me curious, like, is the offensive line better toward the left? The left tackle, left guard is probably doing better, and they probably know that, allowing Josh Jacobs to hit that left or hit right down the middle to be more efficient. Right here, you see some ending near the line of scrimmage, but then you don't see any line of scrimmage runs right here. I think analyzing it that way can really tell what's going on with the offensive line, which really helps running backs out.
Yeah. Shout out to the offensive line too. Obviously, it's a team effort. Running backs can find holes occasionally, but the holes are created a certain way, and that's by the offensive line picking up their assignments and the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach helping them scheme correctly so they know when to pick up players, when to not to. And we've seen, like, for example, Jonathan Taylor. He hasn't been in the spotlight as much this year because his offensive line isn't very good. So it's just unfortunate for that. But going back to Josh Jacobs, he's making the most of his opportunities.
And he's doing a damn good job.
Straight up.
Number 2 is Samaje
P. Ryan.
with his win 27-24 versus Kansas City. 21 carries, 106 yards, 0 touchdowns. He is second in yards, 106, which is far from the first place with Josh Jacobs. So that's how dominant of a performance Jacobs had. But I do want to bring up that last week we had 5 over 100-yard rushing performances, and this week we only have 2. It was definitely a pass-heavy week. Brian Robinson is third with his tie against the Giants. It's kind of nice seeing Brian Robinson come out. We haven't really seen him play. So to come out and have 21 carries for 96 yards is pretty impressive. But yeah, P. Ryan's really showing up. He's really taking that position with Joe Mixon being out. What do you think about P. Ryan?
Yeah, he seems to fill in perfectly when Joe Mixon is out. It seems like they don't miss a step in that instant, and that's what you want out of a backup running back. Come in when you need to when Joe Mixon's playing, but when Joe Mixon's out, step up, fill in your role, and he does that. He does a great job, averaging 5 yards per carry on 21 carries. So that's pretty good. And then Brian Robinson, he had another good game. So they have a good kind of running backfield. They can go with a hot hand in that instance. And this week it was Brian Robinson. So yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to get those young running backs because not a lot of people want to pay them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
then there's a lot of these running back duos where they'll split carries, but they'll both be so efficient. Like the Lions, for example. I think Robinson is a part of that with Gibson, who's been pretty limited. So Robinson's been getting most of those carries. But I think that they're really good swapping back and forth because when he can get 96 yards and 21 carries, you have an efficient backup running back. Same with P. Ryan. So I think that's a pretty good narrative. Also back to backups. I don't know if you can call AJ Dillon a backup. I'm not sure which one's RB1 anymore because AJ Dillon's overshadowing Jones. But he had 18 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown in their win against Chicago.
Yeah, I think he's AJ Dillon. Honestly, I have him on a fantasy team too, and he's been pretty lackluster this season as a whole. So it's nice to see him coming out of the woodwork, getting some yards, and producing. I think this is definitely the most rushing yards he's had in the season so far. So it's nice to see. He almost broke the 100-yard mark, but he was definitely involved with the win against the Bears. He was able to rack up some points against that defense.
And what's interesting about this next one is 91 yards, but only 12 carries. His average is 7.6 and 2 touchdowns. If I wasn't sorting by yards, I think I would put Tony Pollard at number 1 for this week, just because of that. 7.6 average for 2 touchdowns, 91 yards. That's a good performance. They definitely got. I know that was that's probably killing you right now.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's a hard loss.
He probably got all those yards in the fourth quarter too, man. It's tough.
Right. Tough. Yeah, it's not. So we don't have to elaborate on that. But Tony Pollard is definitely playing really well now. Definitely taking that starting job from Zeke.
Yeah, another running back duo.
Yeah, so Dallas has that to open up the field for Prescott, and that's why they're doing so good offensively.
Yeah.
So receiving leaders are next. So before we start receiving, do you have any stats you want to tell everybody?
I don't, but I could say Devontae Adams has 660 yards and 7 touchdowns in his last 5 games. He's playing phenomenal. Wow. So yeah.
So Devontae Adams with his win, 27-20 versus LAC, 8 receptions, 177 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I do have some another chart for Devontae Adams right here. This is a route chart. So more spaghetti noodles. We have 2 touchdowns right here, which are, again, just like how we were talking about Hurts, how it was way out in the 30 to 40 yards. Devontae Adams also caught a touchdown over 45 yards for a touchdown, and one that was about say 38 yards for a touchdown. The white is the route, and the green is after the catch. So right here, he had a little bit after the catch for this touchdown. Right here was right in the end zone. But a lot of these, he's caught right at so there's really not much after catch going on here. Devontae Adams is definitely one of those aggressive catch players who catches it and then goes down because he has to really put everything into catching the ball. Right here, you can see that there must have been a screen attempt. And then the gray routes are incomplete routes. So these are routes that he ran and was passed to but didn't catch.
Okay, nice. Yeah, not a surprise. He caught a lot of long balls and went all the way on the long ball. So that's his couple touchdowns were pretty long. So that's going to help your yardage. And he had some. Looks like he had some decent catches as well.
Which is crazy to say because Derek Carr just is not He's not who we thought he was, but now
Mhm.
he has Devontae Adams, so he just has to throw the ball up and hope he catches it. Number 2 is Garrett Wilson. New York Jets lost against Minnesota, 8 receptions, 162 yards, 20.3 average, and no touchdowns. Not much to elaborate here. Mike White is using him as his main receiver right now, it seems. He's probably going to keep doing that because Wilson is a good receiver. He's reliable. So I think he's going to be more involved in the passing game. His longest was a 60-yarder, which really helped rack up these yards with only 8 receptions. What do you think about Wilson?
Yeah, his third 100-yard game this season, and obviously his most in his career and in his very young career. He has only good things to say about Mike White, and until anything changes, I mean, Mike White is helping out his wide receivers, and that's kind of the opposite of what you saw with Zach Wilson. So
Number 3, Tyreek Hill, no surprise. They did lose
Yeah.
33-17, but he did get 9 receptions for 146 yards and 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill is just that receiver that you want to pass to because you know that he can do things with the ball. You know he's going to be open. He can get separation, and he's a very reliable receiver. Jalen Waddle went out, so he was the guy to pass to.
Do you have his chart?
I don't, but I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure his chart says a lot about his. I'm interested to see what yards after catch was and kind of where he caught the ball. Looking at below him though, Tyler Lockett, he has a touchdown in 5 straight games, so he's getting in the end zone for his fantasy owners, for his team, which is necessary. And Geno Smith's getting him the ball. Geno Smith's passing the rock to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So those are a couple players that are pretty good on the offensive side of the ball, especially for your fantasy team. It's nice to have a player catching touchdowns 5 straight weeks.
Here we go. I found his chart now. So this is going to be Tyreek Hill's chart. Let's put that up there.
Oh, nice.
That's a lot different than Devontae Adams, who we just saw.
He's going everywhere, dude.
A lot of these routes, like, I don't know, this might sound weird, but you can see the speed in these routes by just looking at these curves. Like, you can just see how fast this guy is. I remember this play. It was almost 50 yards. He caught it here and there and right into the end zone with there's like a corner here and a safety here. But a lot of them kind of came inside, and then these ones he kind of went on the outside.
Yeah.
Looks like he spent most of his time on the left here. But yeah, this is Tyreek Hill's chart right here. If anyone wants to look for this, I'll go to nextgenstats.nfl.com. They are not sponsors, so yet. but yeah, if you want to check that out, it's there. So.
Yeah, thank you, Next Gen Stats. They put in a lot of work, I'm sure, on getting those routes around and putting that on there. So
yeah, that's cool.
Oh, DK Metcalf, yeah, he's right there too. Geno Smith passing the rock around.
Yeah, Lockett and Metcalf are 4th and 5th. This really helped Geno get his yards. I mean, it's almost equal. They're 1 yard off, 1 reception off, but they tied in touchdowns. Like that's impressive. He definitely separated the ball in that game. They both got a pretty good performance there. So not much to discuss there. So I decided for defense that I wasn't going to sort by total tackles, so I did sort by sacks.
Nice.
Chandler Jones got 3 sacks. Nick Bosa got 3 sacks, so they're tied. But Jones did get 6 total tackles, so I'm going to put him at first place. And then we have Bobby Wagner with 2 sacks, Josh Uche with 2 sacks, and Deshaun Williams with 2 sacks. So what's funny is the difference between positions here. We have a defensive end, linebacker, defensive tackle.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And Nick Bosa is leading the league in sacks, I believe, now. He's playing phenomenal, especially with the games that he has missed. He's only played like 11 games this season. So he has 14 and a half sacks and 3 sack performances. I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal when that happens. The 49ers defense, they have so many playmakers on that side of the ball, and Nick Bosa, when you can get to the quarterback like that, it's a great thing, obviously.
Yeah, it is. It's really good to have a defender who can sack the quarterback, because that's especially in like crucial positions. Say it's like a 3rd and 2, and you sack the quarterback, they can no longer go for it on 4th. Maybe you knocked them out of field goal range. So sacks can be game deciders in any situation. It could be a 4th down, and you could get the ball back. Like a lot can happen with sacks. So I think
Right.
it's very important for someone like Bosa or Jones to be able to sack the quarterback for their team. So
Yeah, it's one thing to get pressures. Obviously, that's important too. Looking at the pressures for every snap you get. I saw something the other day that Micah Parsons gets a pressure on the ball, and like every 5.5 snaps or something, he's a freak. Everybody else is like, all the other good players are like 8 or 9 snaps, but every 5 snaps, Micah Parsons will be in your face. So
yeah,
it's
Mike
crazy.
Parsons is just he's something else for sure.
But he's not on this list, but he could be. He could be anytime he wants to be.
I'm surprised Judon isn't either. But it's hard to sack Josh Allen. He'll find a way away from you.
Sure. Yeah.
So this again stayed the same. We have Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. Actually, no, Tom Brady was here, and now he's at the bottom. So Justin Herbert did surpass him. But yeah, this is our total. So Patrick Mahomes still leads in touchdowns. Tom Brady still has the least interceptions, tied with Jalen Hurts. But yeah, leading in pass yards is Patrick Mahomes, then Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady. It's a list that's been kind of consistent all season, so there's not much to discuss here.
Dude, the 54 20-plus yard throws for Patrick Mahomes is absolutely ridiculous. Especially with losing Tyreek Hill and stuff. Having 54 passes that go 20-plus yards, that's crazy.
That's 40 plus.
That's less than 1/6 of his completions.
That's absolutely amazing.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Speaking of avoiding sacks, Patrick Mahomes has only been sacked 19 times.
Yeah, and then Tom Brady is 18. It's kind of you know how quick they can get the ball out. They know where they're going with the ball way before the play ever happens.
Which is a really crucial reason why they are top 5 for sure. So leading in rushing is Josh Jacobs. We discussed him earlier, and then we have Nick Chubb, who has 1,119 yards, 217 attempts, 12 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 3rd. Saquon Barkley, 4th. Dalvin Cook, 5th. And a shout out to Jamal Williams, who is currently leading the whole league in touchdowns. He's not on here because I'm sorting it by yards, but yeah, shout out to Jamal Williams for that achievement.
Yeah, he's not getting a lot of yards, but he's getting those 1-yard touchdowns that you need. He seems to make it look so easy whenever he's
just
there.
Runs right. It's like he walks through. It's like they blew the whistle and he just kept going.
Yeah. In terms of for Derrick Henry, he had 5 100-yard rushing games during the season. In his past 4 games, he's had 53, 87, 38, and 30, and only 1 rushing touchdown. And no receiving touchdowns as well. He has had against the Bengals, he had a 79 yards in receiving, 45 yards in receiving. But in terms of rushing, he's averaging 2, 3, 2, 2 yards per carry over the past 4 games. So his rushing game is not going well for them right now.
Yeah, he usually can like get rid of defenders, but he's running into his own O-line now. He's tripping. He's just running into the backs, and it's not looking very good for Henry right now. He's definitely capable of doing much better. He is still top 3, but I could see him hitting top 2 if he could just like gain his bearings and just figure out how to just be the running back that he was last year when he led the league almost the entirety of the season. Saquon Barkley, no surprise here. He's still as efficient as he was before. 8 touchdowns, not bad. Then Dalvin Cook snuck up into the top 5. He's a pretty good running back, I think. But I think that him getting most of the attempts over Madison, because they're really depending on the receiving game and on the passing game, and so he doesn't really have many opportunities to run the ball, and I think that explains why he only has 198 attempts. But to have 927 rush yards in less than 200 attempts is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree. He's playing phenomenal, and yeah, he's getting all the carries, so that's always helpful.
And then we are on to receiving. Tyreek Hill is leading in yards. 5 touchdowns, and then Justin Jefferson second. Again, no surprise, 1,277 yards, 6 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs is third, Devontae Adams fourth, and Jalen Waddle fifth. Any thoughts
no
here? Anything
surprise
about this
here.
list?
Yeah, no surprise here. I'm interested to see if Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can be up there. They could have themselves. They most likely will have themselves a duo with 1,000+ receiving yards. So I know T Higgins and Jamar Chase did that, I believe, last season. So
Yeah, they did.
I don't know how many times it's happened. I'd have to look that up, and I'm sure it's very few times, but that's pretty awesome to see. And then Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams. If you had your eyes closed, you could guess that top 5 right there.
Oh yeah,
easily.
for sure.
So just players that are on, like Stephon Diggs. He was on the Vikings at one point. Justin Jefferson got drafted after that trade. So a lot of narratives here, and then Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams on new teams. It goes to show that when you're an elite wide receiver, you'll do good no matter where you go, no matter who your quarterback is. You'll find a way and hopefully help your quarterback if they can at least throw the ball somewhat.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you're as good as Jefferson or Diggs, like, you're gonna find a way to get that ball no matter where it's going. So leading in sacks, and I know we discussed sacks, but this is season sacks now. Nick Bosa is indeed leading the league in sacks with 14.5. Matt Judon is second with 13. So Nick Bosa actually just hit number 1 after last week. And then Micah Parsons, who we also discussed, and then Max Crosby and Brian Burns.
Yeah, Matt, all those players play really well. I know the Panthers didn't want to trade Brian Burns. This is why. He's a young player that they want to keep as a key foundational player on their team. There was a report that they were offered 2 first-round picks. Is that true? Who knows? But they better. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with those picks and where they're going to be and who they're going to be, if they're going to hit or not. First-round picks miss a lot more than people realize. And you know what Brian Burns is in a player. So just a quick spotlight on him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was crucial for them to keep him. I think trading him away would have been really bad for their defense.
Yeah.
So here's scoring, and I'm bringing this up because the Lions made it to third place in total touchdowns with 38, 18 of which were rush touchdowns, mostly Jamal Williams. But these total touchdowns are all fairly high for these teams. The Bengals, Cowboys, Lions, Chiefs, Eagles, all teams that have been doing really, really good offensively. So the thing about total touchdowns is you're not really considering. By the way, these are all total offensive touchdowns, so defensive touchdowns don't count on this. So offensively, each of these teams are doing amazing, and even the Lions are up here among these like juggernauts. So that really shows that the Lions are doing very well offensively, and it's just the defense that they have to work on.
But I mean, a lot of these teams are pretty balanced. Like the Eagles, Cowboys, and Bengals, they're all pretty balanced as a whole. So I'm sure if you looked on the defensive side of the ball, you'd see similar numbers on how good they've been playing. The Cowboys probably still leading the league in sacks as a team. The Eagles are phenomenal, and the Bengals are allowing the fewest, lowest completion percentage by opponents.
So what I found really interesting too is that the Chiefs have 30 receiving touchdowns, only 11 rush touchdowns. Bengals have 25 receiving touchdowns, only 12 rush touchdowns. So this doesn't seem very balanced, but their run games, well, at least the Bengals run game is really opening up the opportunity to get these receiving touchdowns. So I think that's very important to consider.
Right. And then we saw earlier how Patrick Mahomes has a bunch of 20+ yard throws, and obviously a lot of those are going to turn into touchdowns. That just kind of happens that way, and then it shows that in the red zone. It's a lot easier to throw to Travis Kelce than trying to get a run up the middle. So,
yeah, I think scoring is very important to talk about, because that's how you win games, is you score.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you win by 1 point, you still won. You still got more points on the scoreboard, and I think that's very important. So that's all I have for today. Week 13 is officially over. What do you think is going to happen in week 14? Is there someone you're looking out for to have like a really big performance, or somebody who usually does well who might do bad this week?
Nothing off the top of my head really. The Lions play the Vikings, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I feel like that could be a big shootout with Justin Jefferson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of going back and forth with a couple of young wide receiver talents, and the defenses on both sides of the ball not too great. Looking at tomorrow, we have the Rams and Raiders. Josh Jacobs, that'll be fun. Josh Jacobs in prime time, kind of showing off.
Yeah.
I bet it gets. I don't know what his over under is on yards, but I'll take the over without even looking at it. I'm sure it's like 90. I'm sure it's high 90s or low 100s at this point. I'd bet over 100.
Yeah, okay. I do know that. So when the Vikings and Lions played before,
Yeah.
Okuda completely shut down Jefferson, but now
Okay.
Okuda's
Yeah,
not
that's
going to
true.
be playing. So do you think that Jefferson's going to have a bigger game because Okuda's not there to cover, or do you think the Lions will be able to figure it out?
I think Justin Jefferson will have a good game. I think Jeff Okuda is a very good football player, and the fact that he shut him down last time. He had 3 receptions and 14 yards in week 3. Now that I'm looking at it, so that's very low. I don't think that'll happen again. I think you should obviously Bill Belichick. He always wants to take away their best player. I think they should try to do that against the Vikings and just hope for the best on the offensive side because I think the Vikings are going to score points.
I think that this might be one of the bigger games this week just because it's really deciding the NFC North. If the Lions would have lost last week, the Vikings would have clinched. But now the Lions have a chance to stay in the NFC North and make playoffs. So how I know you're not here for our game pick show, so I want to ask you, who do you think's going to win? The Lions are favored.
I'd probably put money on the Vikings, to be quite honest. I think the Vikings I think their offense is going to be explosive. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, nothing to shame for the Lions. I think it'll be a close game. I know some people surprised that the line is for the Lions. They're at home, but I would take the Vikings, even though I think if it's a close game, the Vikings can pull ahead, and they've shown that with their 9-0 in one possession games this season.
All right, yeah, I was. It's a very scary game.
Yeah,
I'm kind of freaking out, but
I don't think. Yeah, I think it'll be a close game. If it's crazy to me that the Lions are favored, to be honest, even with like the schedule and stuff. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but when I saw that, I was like, I feel like that might change eventually because I think a lot of people bets will go on the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm as surprised as everybody. But with that game against Jacksonville, following that almost beating Buffalo, I think that there's a lot happening in Detroit that's kind of a surprise. But also, it's almost like all the games that we lost kind of don't matter anymore because a lot of people are healthy, and so like it's as if it's a brand new team. They're really gaining their bearings and they're doing a lot better. Who did the Colts play?
The Colts are on a bye this week.
They're on a bye. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they play the Vikings the week after. I think it got flexed to a Saturday primetime game, which is very interesting. I think that's kind of the time we're in where they throw in some Saturday games to get more primetime games in with a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, the Colts had a Monday night game, they had a Sunday night game against the Cowboys. They had a Monday night game against the Steelers, and then they had a Saturday primetime game against the Vikings. And then they have another Monday night game against the Chargers. So
here's a stat. The Lions don't have a single primetime game this season.
Unfair.
It's so.
Well, look at the Colts, man. They're doing.
I like what Dan Campbell said though after the schedule was announced. He said, "I don't care. I like playing on Sundays better anyway." I'm like, yeah. That's a good way of looking at things. So
yeah, something to note. I'm going to the Colts Chargers game on Monday night. After Christmas, and my friend was like, "Is that going to get like flexed?" And it's not this year that they can flex Monday night football games into Sunday. It's next year. Next year is the first time they can do that. In the month of December, they can start like flexing games from Monday night to Sunday night. Obviously, if the Colts and Chargers, if they had the opportunity to now, they probably would flex it, and it would be very unfortunate because I bought tickets and it's Christmas the day before and a lot of stuff going on Christmas Day. So, yeah.
Well, that should be fun. That should be a fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this week's going to be very exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets. I mean, it's been that way all season, and I think that things are going to be decided for what postseason might look like. We're going to see the playoff picture become more accurate through these next 5 weeks. So let's see how this week pans out, and we'll talk about it next Wednesday.
Yes, sir. I'm excited for it. I appreciate it.
All right. Any last minute thoughts?
No. I hope your Lions get the win, man. It'll be a big game. Because if they lose, I feel like they're kind of out of it at that point. I don't think that's kind of what they've come down to. Fantasy football wise, we could start talking a little. Maybe we could throw in some fantasy football stats next week, because it is the start of the playoffs for most people. Because it's the last of the bye weeks this week. If you have a fantasy football playoff game, this week, I would leave that league immediately. Because this 6 teams on a bye. You shouldn't have to adjust who you want on your team based off of a week 14 bye. I think obviously not having a lot of players on a single bye is important, but I don't think buys should be looked at too much when you're playing fantasy football.
All right, I agree.
But yeah, good luck. I don't know. I'm in a few leagues where it's going to be a close call for me. I've clinched, but we'll see. I need some.
See.
It was one league I scored the second highest points, and it was the most efficient manager on Sleeper, and I lost. So now the league I need a win in. So it's tough.
Oh man. All right. Well, good luck on fantasy.
Thanks,
good luck.
You too.
I will talk to you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. If anyone's out there.
This has been 11 Yards Podcast presented by Legit Football.
Ooh.